every day, 11 a.m. Eastern time. Uh, it's a place to be, the place to share, and the place to learn. I'm so pleased today to have Wilson with us. I've known Jason for a little bit. So fascinating, interesting, brings such value, and has such wonderful insights. And naturally, this is all driven by you. Chat's open. Feel free to start asking questions. I'll love to hear what you have to say. Let me introduce Jason first. Jason, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and what you think of shows like this, and how they can transition to greater success.
Don, thank you so much for having me this morning. I think that this show is absolutely phenomenal. It does wonders for your engagement, to expand your network. I highly recommend it. In my opinion, the only thing that's stopping people from doing a program like this is fear. You have to be afraid to do this in order not to do it. So um, if you can just get past that initial fear of doing the program, once you get on here, I mean, it's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because there's so many people who are now co-hosting the show with me that never planned on doing video, let alone doing LinkedIn Lives.
Right.
And once they get into the groove of it, they find out how fun it is, how liberating it is, because
Yeah.
we talked about this prior to the show. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of anxiety, but there's not a lot of channels that you can trust, or people that you get to know in a way that you're willing to be vulnerable and share things. And once you start doing that, it elicits everybody else doing that. And then it seems normal and natural to do it, versus something, to your point, that's fearful.
Yeah.
Alex has a little bit more to say, afraid of coming up with content ideas. Well, I find fear goes away when you take action.
Yeah.
And what changed your life, or what was your aha moment, Jason?
Well, through my organization, Circle of Friends Club, I basically started podcasting during the pandemic, like the second week of the shutdown. And I mean, it was a complete game changer. You're able to reach people on LinkedIn that you would never think you could reach. Like
Mm-hmm.
you brought up earlier, Don. You have people from France that join your podcast, this show, and people from everywhere. But you never know who's watching through a platform like this. I mean, famous directors, athletes, singers,
Mm-hmm.
other entertainers. You never know who's watching. So I mean, it just behooves you to take a chance like this, a risk, and just put yourself out there.
Yeah, well, it's only a risk if you let it be,
Yeah.
right? So, the key is to listen to your own mind, hopefully listen to your heart, which I think was a better guide than that. And, you know, if you can't do it yourself, find somebody who can help you do it with them, right? Don't try to get everything. Just get all you can,
Yeah.
when you can, where you're at. And there's a lot of people like Jason and myself who are willing to help people who are sincerely and respectfully looking for help, right? And who bring
Absolutely.
some value themselves. Brandy's here. Brandy says, powerful statement. Fear goes away with action. It never
Sure.
fails. I mean, it's like, can you laugh and cry at the same time? I guess if you're laughing hard enough, uh, it doesn't work the other way as well. But that's the key. People get too far ahead of themselves and they look at something and it looks like it's insurmountable. But
Yeah.
I know with dieting, it's one meal at a time, right? You're not going to worry about dinner till you have lunch, and that's what people do is they take something that everybody, or not everybody, but most people are comfortable with and find reasons to be uncomfortable with it. So, with all the people you're starting to meet, Jason, well, why don't you tell people, which is kind of fascinating, where you're at and how you got there?
That's a story in itself. But I came down here to Columbia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, originally, and I came down in 2002, Don, when it was not a popular decision to come. I mean, the only positive thing that you could find on the internet about Columbia was maybe the topography and the weather.
Mhm,
That was it.
mhm.
As far as everything else, okay, it was bombings, kidnappings, drug deals, nothing positive. So at that time, I had to step out on faith and come, even though I was coming to get married. And my wife told me at the time, she said, "Jason, don't worry about everything that you see in the news. Just come on down and see what it's like." And it was the best decision I ever made. I love it down here.
Well, that's great. And, who would know? And the key is the people who do are the ones who know. The
Right.
people who stay away from a distance and try to judge, but they sort themselves out easily, and that's one of the benefits of LinkedIn is you've got 875 million people. You don't have to
Yeah.
wait for anybody. You don't got to fix anybody. You don't have to do more than you feel you should for anybody. And the key is to empower people, make them the master of their future, not a
Right.
dependent on you to continue to build their future. Thank for you, Alex. It's great to have uh, uh, individuals who come and really support this. And really, the support of this is the support for you. This is your time. Make some connections. Look at the people who are commenting, connect with them. If you got some in common, maybe set up a Zoom. If you got a question, everybody wakes up with a question, a challenge. Share it if you're comfortable with it, and let everybody take a look. And maybe our experience could save somebody from going through our experience. So and I think that's what people really enjoy about this show is the comfort level. It's people say it's like being in a living room.
Yeah.
So what are you learning from your podcasting from when you
Well,
start?
I wanted to give a quick shout out, real quick, to Abimbola. Thank you so much for joining me today. This lady is phenomenal. She's from Nigeria. I've met some wonderful people from Nigeria. Her, Zion, Marvelous, just to name a few. But this lady, she sends me a message every Monday with positive affirmations. I just wanted to share this with you real quick, Don, and
Sure,
everybody else.
sure. This is great.
This, yeah, this is awesome. So, just a few affirmations that she sent me this week. Hang on a second. So, I think that, one of the biggest things about overcoming fear is the internal conversation that you have with yourself on a daily basis. I mean, are these words positive or are they negative? I think that one of the best ways to overcome negative thoughts is affirmations. So she sends me a list of affirmations. Let me just give you a few. It doesn't matter what happens around, I have enough positive energy to carry on. I live a constant life of overflowing joy and peace. I am open to the right kind of opportunities. I live in perpetual health and wellness. I mean, if this is the kind of conversation that you have with
Mhm.
yourself every day, what's going to be your experience? I mean, you're going to have a completely changed life. But
Yeah,
again, it's repetition. It's what you do on a consistent basis.
yeah, and consistency is so valuable because you can't gain momentum if you're skipping around, right? If you're looking at the next shiny object,
Yeah.
and that's why if you take it one piece at a time, one step at a time, and in this dynamic marketplace that we're in, things are changing constantly. You don't have to plan too far in advance. In most cases, you just have to respond to what's in front of you. I find the most valuable place is who viewed my profile. That's the first place I look at because those are people who had an interest in me. They didn't just stumble there. They either had to hear about me or see something or whatever to take that one step. And
Right.
that's an automatic thank you for kind of checking my profile. I see we have this in common. Let's have a call. You should always be reaching to get off of LinkedIn with someone that you can talk to one on one and not have to leave messages and pick them up later. And I think the other thing is time efficiency. You know, people need to really value their time, because that's going to make the difference between perseverance and not, right? If you cut the time down, get the results up, then you got something that you can build on.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to it. I've been doing it 3 years, and I'm so glad there's so much I don't know, because that's where the opportunity is. But with video, with LinkedIn Live, which is just amazing. And then
Yeah.
me and Jason were just talking briefly about newsletters, combining that with this, with that. You know, it's like taking your car in and getting it customized. You know, before you know it, you got a supercharger, you know, with something that's race ready versus something that's just plodding along with a lot of other plod alongs, you know. And since everybody's plodding along, they just think that's the speed you go.
Exactly.
So it's really telling people what's there inside of them, how to release it, what's there outside of them, how to connect with it, and then have somebody who can onboard them. And I think that's a role that Jason does well, right? Introduction, you know, just like the show, introduce somebody, get them comfortable, not be salesy, trying to build trusted relationships. And then everybody lets their guard down, and they start focus on what can we do to build instead of what can we do to protect. You know, when you get people out of the insecurity of how am I going to get hurt here, you know, to the point like I can help myself here. And the key is I can help myself, not someone's going to do it for me. What's your thoughts, Jason?
I think the same, Don. And have you ever done Social Saturday?
No.
Okay, it's this wonderful networking event every single weekend. It was started by Victoria T. And if you go to her page every single Saturday, like around 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, she does a post. And I'm telling you, this post gets like, I don't know, 1,000 likes and like 4,000 comments. I mean, it's unbelievable. But you can literally meet in one weekend, Don, 150 to 200 new connections. And I've gotten connected to the majority of the people that I talk to now through that event.
Yeah,
So,
it's incredible the reach
yeah,
that one can achieve. You know, and what I'm finding is every person you get to connect and get to know has a small family of 3 or 4 people who come with them wherever they go in time, right? Because
right,
the next person, because you want someone with you, both in supporting you, but also doing what you're doing, right? Because it's more fun to go with 2 than it is to be by yourself in most cases. And when you can, you know, I connected with Tara Gooch, and through Tara, I got Jenny Maxwell, I got Gretchen Skelka, I got just Kelly. That's been phenomenal. So it's just, you get one, you really get 4. It's like marrying into somebody's family, right?
right.
And if you take care of the person you marry, the rest of the family starts wanting to take care of you and be part of it. So it's really being inviting. You know, I've got 37,000 connections, but everything I'm doing now is around the 50, 60 people that I'm doing. We're working with every day together. Because the only thing
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
counts are the people who show up with you and for you. And those are the
Right.
people you need to show up with and for them. And by locking arms, now you got something that's meeting by plan instead of accident, that you can coordinate, right? And everybody can promote each other. So
Sure.
actually, that's my new group, is finding ways to leverage the power of people working by plan and getting huge benefit, because LinkedIn rewards anybody who gets more audience to stay longer and interact more. And that way it just builds on itself, because as you do those things, your audience gets bigger because LinkedIn likes what you're doing.
Exactly.
You know? And everybody's got to remember, LinkedIn is always the elephant in the room. You know, they control everything. And if you favor them, they'll favor you, and vice versa. So, you know, how long you been doing LinkedIn, Jason?
Ooh, I've been on LinkedIn for a long time, since 2010. But I got to tell you, Don, not until last year did I have more engagement and interaction with anybody on LinkedIn. So just to name a few, I can't name everybody because it's too long of a list. But
Hmm.
Tara Trantham, Patsy Quay, Lindsay Dowd, Alyssa Southall, Clifford Starks, Matt Allen, Matthew Kilkenny, Darnell Kelly, James Fu Torres, Zion, Abimbola, Eni Osung, Donna Martin, Jackie Scully, Joel Felsenstein, Clifford Starks, Kendall Cook, Marvelous Asiana, Mel Wymore, Amanda Cryer, and Daniel Knight. Those are just a few that I highly suggest that you get connected to right now. If you're really, really interested in expanding your network, doing something to bring about social change, connect to those people.
Yeah, and it's so cool the way you're doing it because I'm doing it the same way. After this is over, I'm going to tag 80 people who are going to get exposed. The newsletter is getting probably 1,000 to 1,500 views, and I put the best quotes for the week in there with tags. So everybody who does something, I feel a responsibility to give something back of equal or greater value to start the process of let's keep ratcheting up together. You should never look at somebody as competition because LinkedIn has 10 times the life opportunities you'll ever take advantage of. I mean, this is like
Sure.
swimming in the ocean and worry about someone taking up some space. And if you can show people how to do better, they now think about how they can do better for other people. It duplicates. So what you do
Yeah.
for others, they'll do for others. And if you show them how to do it, you won't have to show them that often. Too many people keep people dependent because it saves them from marketing to new people.
Right.
But if you got higher ground you want people to go to with you, they got to get up to basic ground, right? They got to sustain themselves. They got to be happy. They got to be motivated. And then they'll start teaching everybody the way they do things and experiences they get. And by a multiple of knowledge share, everybody gets smarter, faster together. And that's what you want, right? You don't want to
Sure.
struggle. So, it seems like things are getting easier for you in a lot of ways, and then more challenging in other ways. So, what's starting to change for you?
Well, I think that my media company, is growing, is based on referral now. So, that's wonderful. Um, the quality of the work is good. So, people gravitate towards that and tell other people. So it's a constant chain of referrals, which is wonderful. I've never experienced that on Instagram, Facebook, or any other platform. I think that LinkedIn is unique in that way as well.
So, how's your view of humanity changed now that we're dealing with a global platform like LinkedIn?
I think that security is a huge topic. My account got shut down, Don, for like a week last year, over a small security issue that I had no knowledge about until after the fact. So I think that that's a huge concern. So don't depend so much on a platform to build your network and to have a database. You should have a database outside of LinkedIn as well that connects to your website or someplace else. I think you should have it in at least two different places.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and people take it for granted. I want to welcome Andrea here. Andrea was our guest host a few days ago, really knocked it out of the park. Andrea's from the Netherlands and has got a great coaching practice and really just a wonderful lady that, you should at least check out her profile. And if there's some alignment, she's a very quality connection to have. So thank you for joining today, Andrea, and really
Good morning,
finding a
Andrea.
home here and making a home for other people. So, that's so good. Yes, good point, Jason. Well, you know, and,
Hmm.
and that's the key is we don't know anything until someone tells us to, right?
Yeah.
So any validation or confirmation of what we're saying or just building off of it. You know, we're trying to find a topic that's going to fit as many people as possible to gain as much value from this as possible. Um, and so, you know, when you look at your business, where do you see it really expanding?
Well, I'm in the process of working on an idea, Don, that I've had for a couple of years now, and that's to build a global mental wellness community, but help therapists and coaches get connected to clients and vice versa. Someone brought up an important point to me a couple of months ago that she was looking for a therapist, but found it hard to get connected to the right person. So I said, you know what? There's something I can do about that. I can make it accessible on my website to connect these people together. So that's what I'm working
Mhm.
on right now.
Well, that's very cool. You know, I
Yeah.
find givers get on LinkedIn, and the more you give, the more you get because people really got to get known before they're needed, anyways. And why
Yeah.
not give yourself the opportunity to qualify who you want to work with? Because if there's enough people who are attracted to you, now you do the choosing, right? Who do you want to work with?
Exactly.
How do you want to work with them? And now it's not marketing and business development and lead generation because in most cases that's not someone's core competency,
Hmm.
right? And they really don't like it, and it shows by how they typically do it. Uh, um, Thank you, Andrea. I can't thank you enough. And here is Christine. The best part is feeling part of a community or your family, tribe of choice.
Yeah.
Christine, and actually Christine scheduled yesterday, so she's going to be a LinkedIn co-host. I've been encouraging Christine, and because she is such a thought leader and she just juggles so many responsibilities and does it so well.
Hmm.
You know, it just you can't beat the heart, you know, that shows on this broadcast. Brandy says this is an amazing idea. Finding a mental health provider coach is a chore. Well, you
Thank you.
see, you know, and that's the cool thing about having interaction is they now know maybe a new thought, and now you know that there's people out there who validate it. You know, so
Sure.
confirmation is just as good as trying to fix something.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, oh, Christine, you know, you'll be so comfortable doing a LinkedIn live because it's not, you know, the only difference between me and Jason and everybody there is the camera's on us. The
Right.
conversation just comes around, goes around. Anybody can take the lead. So it's good to have that before feeling so you can compare it to the after reality. Um, but you know, that's the key is some people don't need that much. They just need enough to keep them in the game, get them over a hump. In most cases, it's empathetic support, just someone saying, you're okay, it's going to be okay. And if you can't
Yeah.
do it, maybe we can do it. But you're getting, you know, too much into yourself. And that's the other thing when you're serving others and it's really relevant and important to you, you forget about yourself. You
Exactly.
know,
Yeah.
you don't think about a bill that's coming due or, you know, some of that stuff when you really got, oh, Kelly's here. Kelly's here every week as a co-host. She has really been so important in forming and developing this show. Christine, you'll be fabulous. Just be you, sister. Well, everybody, you know, and I'm sure Jason could attest that before he did his first one, what were you feeling then, Jason?
Oh God, I mean a tremendous amount of fear as well. But I'm telling you, Christine, you're going to be fine. The only difference is between the live and a recorded version. Okay, if you make a mistake, there's no correcting it. You can't go back and edit it out, right? But if you make a mistake, rephrase what you just said and keep going with the interview. I mean, there's nobody that's gonna make a bad comment or anything like that. It's you and Don on screen, so you'll get through it. It'll
Yeah,
be fun.
you know, it's funny because I did a show with someone about 2 weeks ago, And before the show, they gave me all the questions, right? And it just seemed so prescribed. And you never had a chance to be in the moment,
Yeah.
right? And in the moment is where you get your best ideas, and and people are in the moment with you. The beauty of LinkedIn Live is not to plan what never needs to be planned when you could respond to what's there. Uh, and it's like people who, no matter what question you ask them, they already have the answer. There's the answer they
Right.
prepared to for a personal reason, probably. Um, Alex will make. Yeah, what I say about mistakes is you're the judge of what a mistake is.
Uh-huh.
My feeling is either you're learning or you're earning, that there is no failure, only feedback, and life is a continuum, not an outcome, right? So take what you learn, and whatever you learned, whatever prices you paid, they've been paid in full, right? You don't need to continue to go back and pay them again, and the past doesn't define your future. And sometimes
Yeah.
it takes just one person, one idea, to make it happen. Jason, you're very smooth and natural. I agree with you, Dow. Scripts, they don't work. That's what most places I've worked do. No bueno.
Right.
I'm still fascinated. So, Jason, being in Colombia, do you find your customer base more, Central South American, or are you seeing, opportunities more outside of that area?
That's a good question, Don. The majority of my network I got from my speed dating business back from 2010 to 2015. And I sold that business to do something more international. So another one of my ideas is to help people from Colombia and other Latin American countries um, get connected to people in the States and other countries to do business and learn English. So that's a huge vision as well. It's going to take some time, but it'll happen.
Well, it's funny because big ideas seem to become more commonplace when you're around big platforms that are super powerful.
Yeah.
People are usually dealing with themselves and a few people. And even a lot of people, it's maybe 50 or 100. But you got to realize 875 million people are going to gravitate where the most value is. And
Right.
this is a platform where people are focused on spreading good value to other people so they gain value in their minds. So a program like this that is proving itself to be valuable and have purpose is, if everybody talked to their best friend and they talk to their best friend, it's network marketing. But a best friend telling you something has more credibility than anybody else.
Sure.
Jason and I could get on here and tell you everything, and it's still Jason and I trying to communicate. When someone says to you, you can't miss this, or you really need this, or check this out for me. Really, this thing then grows because, Jason has a level of talent that most people are hoping to reach, and as more and more people get attracted to this program, more and more people will share. So instead of coming to sell what they have, they come to become what everybody else is trying to become in the group, right? You want to be part of a
Right.
team. You don't want to be the lone, not on a social platform this big. And I'm saying if 40, 50 people have a tagging community, not an engagement pod where everybody just has to do something, but people can share collectively and anybody can pick and choose what works for them. Having theme shows, I'm doing one every day. I could do one every hour,
Hmm.
if and there's enough room for it. So it's
Sure.
really about facilitating, going out, interviewing, and getting to know people like Jason. Got Antonio Prescott coming on Saturday. You know Antonio, Jason?
No, not yet.
Okay, well, he's down in Miami, and he's actually focused in that same area you are, and he's got his own podcast. Got about
Okay.
18,000 connections, so I've known him for a few years. So although I'm working with the 40, 50 people that have just shown up in the last 3, 4 weeks, there's still 37,000 that I got to know that now there's something to show, so this is getting really exciting. Here we go with Christine. What I love about grad school is it's forcing me to do a cornerstone project, like a thesis for PhD, but in the form of a business plan. I'm full of ideas, and I'll have to choose one to put on paper that way. I'll be more likely to execute. Christine spends so much time planning, thinking, and it all comes out really comprehensive and well, and there's a saying, fail to plan, plan to fail. And most people, they need to really focus on things like that. Maria Simonetti says, I came in kind of late. Jason, what do you do again? Apologies. Well, Jason,
Okay.
for newcomers.
So yes, I have two activities that I'm focused on this year. One of them, Circle of Friends Club. It's a mental wellness community that I'm building. And my media company, EdFX Media. I do podcast editing, podcast production, and social media management.
So who's your typical client?
So the majority of my clients are 40 plus that just have no idea on how to start a podcast show or edit a show or create content for social media. Those are my clients.
Okay. Well, it's only going to get bigger, that area, and the need for that is only going to get stronger. And, there's a saying, be known before you're needed. So by getting top of mind awareness and exposure, when that person's ready, at least they'll know who to talk to, and I think that's key. People think everybody's ready when they're ready, and you got to match when you're ready with when they're ready. Maria says, thank you. And what's interesting about that, Jason, is when you look at the statistics, 80% of the people on LinkedIn are between 18 and 34.
Right.
So there's 20% above it, but that doesn't really speak possibly to the point that maybe other groups are underrepresented.
Yeah.
Right? Because of technological limitations that they believe they have. And that's where having that helping hand, being that onboarder, being that super connector, can get people in a game that they couldn't get into on their own. But once they're in, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think two of the biggest problems for them is the technological issue, but then the other thing is time. They don't have time to create content, edit a podcast. I mean, it requires a great deal of time to do that.
Well, yeah, and what I like about what's developing here is it's an easy entry, right? Where someone can watch it, never even be known or seen, could look at it from the outside and watch it. And then someone can move in and introduce themselves. And that's, you don't want to be the best kept secret on LinkedIn.
Right.
If this is going to be seen by thousands of people, why not get your name on the board? Right? Because they're going to be connecting with these people. I forget who was it. I think it could have been, well, I won't say, but someone said their profile views went up 1,000% in 7 days after being here.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So if you can actually justify time by saying, hey, what did I pick up? This is a marketplace. If you pick up 3 connections, 2 takeaways, maybe a little motivation to get closer to something you were further away from, well, that's a good hour. Can you match that on your next hour? And that's the key. If we can continue to bring more quality content that's relevant, that's attractive, but more important, or as important, by doing that, when you've got the audience, that's what matters. People can do a podcast, they can do a LinkedIn Live, and nobody will ever see it. And the only reason this is working is I did it every day for 7 months. And just through repetition and consistency and being there. And, LinkedIn tells everybody you're going live. How could you beat it? It's an announcement.
Exactly.
Even for who doesn't care. Christine says, love the Circle of Friends concept. Happy that mental health is less stigmatized now. We're all sick on some level, and there's no shame in that. We just need to work to get better. So true, Christine. And, once you acknowledge that, it goes away. Once you know everybody is like you and you're not the only one. It's just the opposite. Then you understand there's people who need you as much as you need them to talk things through, right? Because in most cases, it's just too much to handle and there's no safe place to take it. And the people that you might have don't want to hear it or are negative towards it, right?
That's a great point. And another point, Don, is that, when you have extreme depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, that spirit convinces you to be silent, to keep everything in and not to tell anybody. So I think an important point is to surround yourself by people that you can talk to about whatever it is that's bothering you. So, again, having a therapist, coach, someone that's skilled in that area that you gel with is the best thing you can do.
Yeah, and you could take little steps, something that got you where you are isn't going to go away just by the snap of fingers, right? So, but if you just say, it's like weight loss. If every day you ate an apple instead of eating an ice cream, over time, it would start to show. And you can move as fast or as slow as you want to, and you can put it in neutral or reverse whenever you feel like it. You are in charge. You're the driver, right? And it should just be you in the car, not you in the car and everybody who's driving around you, right? You got to look at the road. You can't be looking at what people are thinking or doing. And I think, it's what's easy to do is easy not to do. And people tend to leave lives of quiet desperation, and they get comfortable with being uncomfortable enough, and they survive somehow. And other people, they want to play when the game's on. They want to be in the game, and that's the benefit for the ones who do, is now you got a competitive advantage from the people who could have and chose not to, right? If you're only one in the game, you got to win. Here's Brandy. Brandy says, and we have authority over that spirit, but it takes a caring, loving community to step out in authority. Such a good point. Well, that's why what I'm doing, what Jason's doing, is really meeting a demand that is so strong. But no one wants to take the time to get to know the people, to build the trust, to build the safety of the community. Most people want to figure out, I got to make money. That's just the way it is, and I'd love to do it, but I don't have the time. Right. And in that case, they disqualify themselves because people are tired of getting spammed and getting salesy stuff. And I mean, you connect with somebody and a second later, they hit you with a pitch, and everybody got that pitch and they don't know anything about you, but that's who they are. But how people do things for you is how they're going to do things with you. And, that's a good sign to avoid. Thank you, Alex. Zane is, Alex promoted him. Let me go back. If I can find it. If I find it, I'll show it. Oh, here we go. So Zane Chair, welcome, my friend. Okay, I think there's something to Zane. If you really want to know, I think just check out his profile. And like I say, here's, let me see, Kelly. People are too focused on the transaction, not the relationship. Well, the relationship should be the transaction, right? That should come first, and why wouldn't it? Wouldn't you like to know who you're going to be dealing with? Or is like anybody can buy anybody if they meet the terms of whatever you're selling, and I don't believe that should be, I'm a big believer in pay for performance, and no one should get hurt trying to get helped, right?
True.
And if you're offering the help, you should stand behind satisfaction on it, right? Because everything spreads. An irate customer spreads your word 7 times faster than a good customer.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you do something to really hurt someone, they've got the power to share that forever, right? And do you want that? And it tells you a little bit about yourself. You can't major in the minors. Like I say, people are stepping over dollars to pick up pennies, and until people just get real with themselves. Everybody knows who they are, or should. Everybody knows what they're capable of. And,
Right.
I think in most cases, another thing that would help is people having a big enough why. If your why is big enough, you're going to figure out how to, right? If this is so important, you would never watch TV, right? You would say, "What am I wasting my time? I need to keep applying myself." You know what
Right.
they say, if your conversion rate is low, the only way to compensate is double your activity. And as you double your activity, your conversion rate will start to go up. And then your activity can start to come down. But, it's like yelling at a stove, say, "Give me fire and I'll give you wood." It doesn't work that way. So,
Mhm.
how have you grown as an individual and just as a entrepreneur with your, last year or two's worth of experience?
In the past couple of years, I can say that it's just being consistent, just like you said, Don. It's engaging on people's posts, building relationships, and being consistent about it every single day. That's it.
Yeah, and the good thing about every single day, and like I mentioned to Jason, uh, I just launched my newsletter that's now a daily newsletter. So every day it'll come in at night, and then every morning LinkedIn Live will come in the morning, and it'll continue to mirror each other. But more
Wow.
importantly, is going to be so much tagging. If you look at the newsletter, and you can look at it any day, and most people do, they'll see their name if their comment's strong enough. Because what I do is I take the best comments for the week, and I say, look at what Quality Connections are saying, and I tag everybody. Then I put in the whole lineup for the next week, the lineup for the last week, the link to yesterday's, the link to today's, you know, and all it is accumulating everything that's there, because one of the other keys to cost and time efficiency and success and whatever you want to define it is your ability to repurpose. Take what you've done and continue
Mhm.
to get value from it. I mean, that's what residual income is. Someone who does
Right.
a book or does a song gets paid forever in royalties and things like that. The time you put in, you need to figure out why you put it in, what you're going to get out, and did you get it? And then it's like the stock market. Are you going to invest more in that stock, or are you going to move to another stock? And if you look at your time as your money, because that's you can always get more money, you can't get more time. And you
Right.
want to get some value, yeah, right? You don't want to keep putting money in a machine and getting less out every time and getting excited to go back tomorrow and do it again, you know? And it's better to catch yourself before you quit, because that's what happens. You get frustrated, you get disappointed, you think LinkedIn's no good, it doesn't work, it's, all this stuff that justifies it, but you're wrong. So, I think it's really the game is between you and yourself. Here we go. Christine, my company asked me just yesterday if I'd host a webinar. Marketing kept asking me how I was going to pitch our products, and I was like, I'm not okay. Well, I'd rather just educate and help people. The ones who need our products are smart enough to figure that out. Yeah, you know what I think? Too many people talk down to other people instead of being part of other people or being a person with other people. And the other
Mhm.
thing is people try to do too much with too little too soon, and that's not working. With LinkedIn, if you're doing enough, and here's the thing, when you develop a full marketing strategy where people come to you because of what you said, what you posted, because they identify with you, or they look at your profile and they come to you. That's why I always look at profiles first, is that's the people who are raising their hand to say, I just took some time and did a like for you, right? You see all the
Right.
likes every day. I just did a comment for you. What are you going to do for me? And if the answer is nothing, then I'm going to comment somewhere else where they're going to do something.
Right.
Everything, you take a step, I take a step. Nobody takes two steps. But if you take a better step, like you go to a picnic and you buy the $8 cake instead of the $4 one, and everybody knows it's the $8 cake instead of the $4 one. It was only $4, but now you're a star among people bringing potato salad and coleslaw, right? So you can work basic, or you can work and say, hey, every time I give some, I'm going to tip that person in addition to it, right? They give me $5, I'll give them $5 and a $2 tip, you know? And maybe they'll say, hey, I'm going to give them $7 and a $2 tip. So let's keep it rising. And the tip is really, hey, I like this person, and I know they could do good for this person. So it's not like flipping a coin, hey, why don't you two get together? It's like, hey, you would complement each other. You got the right personality. See, that's the thing. If you go deep enough with people, it gets richer, you know, and it gets easier. Because then it's like, hey, I'm with you. Just tell me, what do we got to do? Where do we got to go? You know, because there's adventure to it too. You know, whenever you're with people, you do stuff you could never think of doing on your own. But if you're in the crowd and everybody's doing it, it almost gives you permission. Andrea says, webinars with one or two are so frustrating, and no show even worse.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and that's the point. Without audience, I mean, get somebody on the stage, a comedian, and no audience. How funny is that person going to even think they are? They've already heard the joke, right? You know, I'll tell you a quick story. There was a preacher, right? And he was going around the county having revival meetings. And he went into town and he posted all the information. He went out and put up the stage and got set up all the chairs and was practicing, got his outfit on, looked perfect. And he gets ready to do his show. And there's one farmer sitting in the audience, and he's the only one. So he says to himself, you know, it's a big show, one person. Should I even do it? So he said, well, I'll ask the farmer. So he says to the farmer, he said, listen, got a big stage here and blah, blah, blah. You know, I was wondering, should I put on the show? He says, well, I'll tell you what. When I got cows to feed and I got a wagon of hay and only 2 show up, I still feed them. You know, he said, no, I get it. So anyways, he goes on stage, does like an hour and a half, best show ever, and comes back and says, what'd you think? He said, when I feed the cows, I don't give them the whole wagon. So anyways, the key is meet people where they're at. Give people what they say they need, not what you want them to need. And mold around that, because there's going to be more people like them who are thinking just like them, right? If you customize it, you're in. So what's your thoughts? Jason?
I totally agree with you. You know, just give people what you need and just be authentic. Be yourself, and you can never go wrong with that.
Well, sound words have never been spoken like that. And, you know, you can see how easy Jason is and I am with this conversation with everybody here. You know, there should be a sense of urgency and action, but not in communication. You know, gentler, easier. And the thing is if it takes time, that's what it takes. If you try to put a square peg in a round hole and you're forcing it, it's transactional at best, and it's not duplicatable, right? So if you can't duplicate through others, you lose the amplification effect. And if you kind of know how to do things, it makes it easier to do them. I mean, that's pretty common sense. But you know, the main thing is people are starting to open their eyes, open their ears, open their minds, and say there's a better way. And there's people actually doing it who are willing to share it and teach me how to do it. Kelly, authenticity for the win, always. Well, you know, they say be yourself because everybody else has been taken, for one thing. And if you're proud of yourself, show yourself. And if you're not, help yourself or allow yourself to get the help. There's nothing wrong. I know the healthiest people are the people who seek help first. Right? The unhealthiest ones are the ones who won't admit they need help, or don't trust help or whatever it is. There's a million reasons why not, and very few reasons, maybe one or two for why. And, a lot of times it's saying when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you finally do something about it. And,
Absolutely.
but the other thing I'm learning is it's easier to tell somebody to do something, jump off a building, and you'll grow wings before you hit the ground. Or there's another building right across the street you can walk to. So when you have an alternative, if you have a safe place with trusting people like this, that over and over again show themselves to be caring, to be empathetic, and in most cases be in the same boat you are, and maybe even worse in some ways, right? So everybody's got something, and whatever it is, it's something. And if it's not this, it's that. So, it's really important just to be okay. Always show up. Goodbye for now. Well, Andrea, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've been great, and always a bright light whenever you show up. Thank you again, Andrea. Have a beautiful day. So I guess with that said, we're nearing the top of the hour. If there's any other comments or thoughts or questions you want to express, get to know Jason, check out his profile, what he does. Christine says, so much serendipity for me lately. I was thinking of doing your live show, and then my company tapped me to do webinars, message from the universe. Webinars start in March, and I will thankfully get practice on your show before that. For sure, and everybody remembers who introduced them to who, right? Someone got introduced to their spouse, and it works out great. And they'll always know that if it wasn't for that person, it probably wouldn't have happened. So you really get better than top of mind awareness. You get a lot of appreciation. And here's the thing, there is something to legacy. And LinkedIn Lives are going to be posted forever. The things we've talked about today, other people will learn from. The people who participated will be seen over and over again. And why not ride the wave? LinkedIn provides it. All you need is somebody to get you onboarded. And by co-hosting, it's the simplest thing. And, to anybody's point, a co-host just chimes in when they feel like it. It's just a presence. I sometimes watch these without the sound. And there's co-hosts I have on that just by their smile, their enthusiasm, their excitement, they project wellness and positivity, and you really can't help yourself but get into the mood. Thank you. Wishing all a wonderful, blessed day. Well, when you get blessed by so many people, right? I mean, that in itself is worth the hour.
It sure is. Thank you, Kelly.
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'm so grateful for everything you do. So with that said, I think we'll sign off. Jason, you have any final last words you'd like to share?
Yeah, I would like to speak to frequency, because that's one of the biggest questions that people have is how often should I be posting, showing up? I think that the best thing is that you know what your schedule is, and you know what's comfortable for you as far as how often you can show up on LinkedIn. The biggest thing is pick a schedule, 3-4 days a week. I don't know, but be consistent with those 3 or 4 days. If your LinkedIn letter is coming out once a week or monthly, stay consistent with that schedule, and your engagement will continue to build. Your network will continue to build, and you just get better and better from there.
Yeah, those are wise words and words that are based on experience and practice. So we're not just telling you philosophy or throwing stuff out into the future and prognosticating what's going to be. We're saying most things, don't change. Human nature has been the same for as long as humans have been here. It's really the technology that's disrupted so much, but also created so much. If you can get on the right side of it instead of on the other side of it, everything changes for the better, because this world and this community is full of abundance, not scarcity. And if everybody can bring their abundance out, and help each other and then share it, you know. And then from there, it's whatever your imagination, creativity, you don't have to think beyond that. And that's the beauty of it, right? If you get a daily question and answer yourself, what do you want to do? Who do you want to do it with? And why do you want to do it? And all of a sudden you get to pick your teams, right? Wouldn't it be great to play cards and you get the deck and pick out your hand first, right? Maybe get a royal flush every time. But that's cool. But anyways, I want to thank Jason. I want to thank everybody here. It's been wonderful, and it's primarily because of the audience that contributes. And hopefully we just keep getting bigger and better and kinder together. So with that, thank you again, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Look forward to tomorrow. And tomorrow, I don't have the guest list. I know Kelly. Oh, I won't say. Okay, we'll surprise you. Thank you so much. Bye.